Australian Centre for Pacific Islands Research. For those that don't know me, my name is Bridget Horsey and I'm going to host the seminar for you today. Importantly, I'd like to acknowledge that this seminar is being hosted from the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, on the traditional lands of the Kabi-Gubbi people, who we pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. And of course, I want to welcome Maleli Qera, who will be presenting for us today, and he's connecting with us all the way from Fiji. So welcome, Maleli, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Maleli, he is from Qera Island in Fiji and has come from a secondary teaching background, so very important work. He's been working for the C3 Community Centred Conservation, which is a grassroots community organisation in Fiji, since its establishment in the Pacific Islands in 2010. So Maleli is now starting his own organisation, Oceans of Hope, which aims to provide support for young mothers from rural Fijian communities to build their confidence and encourage them to complete their school education to improve outcomes for their children. And in the presentation today, Maleli will discuss some of this important work with the C3 organisation, who is putting conservation at the heart of community. And I could tell you more about some of this incredible work that this organisation is doing and what Maleli is involved with, but I think I'll hand it over to Maleli now and let him take it from here.
Okay, Mulabinaka everyone, and welcome to the presentation. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Sunshine Coast University for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much to my friend Melanie for allowing me to be part of the program and for encouraging me to use this platform to actually expose some of the work that I have been doing in the Pacific as far as conservation of resources is concerned. A topic for today's presentation will be conservation at the heart of a community, as you can see there on the screen. And as my name is Maleli Qera, as Bridget has already explained. Introduction is what Bridget has talked about. My role as a program officer for that marine conservation NGO C3 Fiji, and I'm also the director for a new group that we just formed 2 years ago, which is Oceans of Hope Fiji. And of course, from what I often told the Vonolemu people, that I'm from the most beautiful island in Fiji, Koro, a small island in the central of Fiji. A topic is conservation at the heart of a community. So I'm going to talk about briefly about the work that we have been doing with C3 Fiji. It started in 2011. We first established C3 Fiji in the year 2011, which is a local marine conservation NGO based on the small, isolated, rocky fishing community of Qera Island in northern Fiji. And who is C3? It is a grassroots community organization in the Pacific with our parent body in the UK. It is a marine conservation NGO, but does not mean that we are basically biased on the conservation of marine, but also on terrestrial due to their interconnectivity as far as resource use, challenges, and how ecosystem services they provide for the people. Present major activities is resource conservation, climate change mitigation and adaptation, capacity building in rural communities, youth empowerment in schools and community levels. Our current address here in Lambasa, Nasikula Road. Lambasa is the biggest town in Vonoleu, can be found in the north of Fiji, the second largest island of Vonoleu. Why do we choose Qera Island? This question often comes up from other NGOs or other stakeholders, sometimes from individual people. Why do we choose Qera to start off our program with and not any other places? Why Qera? Because of its remoteness, and why can't we start our organization in a place near town where everything is easy? Okay, Qera's position as the closest island community to the Great Sea Reef, which is the third longest barrier reef in the Southern Hemisphere, is our foremost reason why we choose Qera Island. Okay, as you see that here in Fiji. In the Northern Division, we have the Great Sea Reef, which is the third longest barrier reef in the Southern Hemisphere. And also, another reason why we choose Kia is the challenges facing the Great Sea Reef when commercial fishing increases intensively over the past 20 years or so. So at one point, people have been consistent on subsistence fishing in these areas in the Northern Division. And commercial fishing has been quite aggressive in the central and the southern part of Fiji. So because of the Great Sea Reef, its bountifulness in marine species and biodiversity, eventually fishermen from other places around Fiji started to venture out into the Great Sea Reef. In a matter of 10 to 15 years, people in the Northern Division have realized that the Great Sea Reef is being exploited very badly, to the extent that most of the reefs have biodiversity, most of the reefs have really dropped very badly. So those are some of the things that we found out and has caused us to move closer to the Great Sea Reef. And that's the very reason why we chose Kia Island, because it's the only community closer to the Great Sea Reef. Okay, C3 Fiji versus an aggressive fishing community, or Kia Island. Fishing is a major source of income and livelihood. And the fishing methods they use are gun fishing, spear gun, line fishing, reef gleaning, deep sea trawling, net casting, long net fishing. And what makes it more aggressive is that they have the market right on their doorsteps on Kia Island. To Gold Hole Fishing Limited, which is a Chinese fishing company, 3 agents, one on each of the 3 islands, of 3 villages on the island. It was in place, or a commercial fishing has been in place on the island for the past 20 years or so. As teaching time, C3's 5-year effort to alleviate challenges facing the ocean. We first of all conducted a baseline survey throughout the 3 villages on the island. One main reason why we did our baseline survey is to, first of all, to secure background information of the island, so that we can have an idea of what the island is all about, starting from sources of life, the origins, family links, education level, medical standards, transportation, and all other incentives like that. And we also talk about it even goes down to traditional leadership, traditional systems within the village, and allocations of land areas into each of the matagalis on the island. We also move into certain traditional knowledge applications as well, where we try to get what people know of themselves before we try to introduce some of the scientific knowledges that we have, and try to merge them together to be able to make it easier for the people to understand the conservation efforts that we were trying to do on Kia. Secondly, would be to create a standard profile of the area, so that anyone who comes into the island will be able to, like, okay, this is a fact for us in the South Pacific. Most of our stuff or information about us are not recorded. They are always passed down from one generation to another through word of mouth. And sadly, in the process, most of the originality of those information about us or identity are lost in the overlapping years. So what we try to do is try to write down profiles, making documents of all that we have gathered from the island, to enable those people who come after us to ask about the island. We just have to grab the book or the document and give it to them, instead of people guessing on what the island is all about. Okay. And the third one is to find the challenges and solutions. Once we know that the marine ecosystems of Kia Island has been exploited very badly, we try to come down to a level, we try to inform the people, to make them know or understand that the challenges are happening and there are solutions to the challenges. Okay, the activities, one of them is changing mindsets through trainings and awareness of the importance of the resources. You know that most of the landowners or resource owners in the Pacific took advantage, or yeah, they take advantage of the fact that they own the resources. It is theirs. Their elders before them have been implementing the resources, and it is now their time to implement their resources in whichever way they can. Okay, so we try first of all to change that mindset and to bring them down to the level to understand exactly what is around them. For example, if they look at a particular tree, for example, a flamboyant tree, okay, we call it sequoia. They can just look, okay, we go and sit under the sequoia tree, drink rock, talanoa, we perform our mekes, drinking and singing, and without realizing what the tree is all about. Okay, the importance of the tree, the ecology of the tree. Those are some of the things we try to teach them so that they can have a sense of caring, not only for the trees, but for the marine ecosystems and all that is in their resources. Eh? And then we also did some capacity building and where we recruited the youth to become conservation ambassadors in their own community. Okay, most of the youth in these communities are school dropouts. They drop out of school from primary school levels to secondary school levels. And it's unfortunate to say that from the island of Qera, about 1% of the people of Qera living in the world today have graduated from a university. Yeah? So most of them have been falling back to their communities, maybe because they think life is easy. They have a lot of food security or food resources. Source of income is there at their doorstep. So why go to school? Children keep dropping off at school at a very alarming rate, and it's still happening today. So we recruited the youth to becoming conservation ambassadors in their communities, teaching them, changing their mindset, involving them in activities so they can become bold enough to be voices of the resources, to be able to tell their elders and their friends and everywhere they go that it is important that they should conserve the resources or reserve the resources. Another one is establishing a network with the school or the Ministry of Education through a small group that we created. We call it the C3 Reef Rangers. Reef Rangers involve the students in the schools, the teachers, and all those youth in the communities who are our representatives, whom we taught and we take with them to do disseminations in school on conservation. Okay, in schools, we align with the Ministry of Education syllabus. We draw up our own syllabus. We draw up our lesson plans before the classes. But all topics are on conservation or conservation of resources. So there are two types of activities that we do: classroom lessons where we teach in schools, or outside activities where we do physical activities outside, like beach cleanup campaign, rubbish separations, coastal tree establishments, mangrove farming, and all other activities that we do with the children, upon which we eventually go out to the community once in a while to share our knowledge and feedbacks to their parents. We establish some alternative livelihoods or income generating projects for the people of Qera. Results, like, it wasn't easy when we started because it is a fishing community and we are there to try to conserve or talk about maintaining, saving the resources. There are only resources there, which is the sea. So at first we were looked at as a threat to their livelihood, in the sense that everything we try to talk about is trying to stop them from doing something in the ocean. Okay, so we kept on talking. We've faced a lot of difficulties when we started. We've been told off, we've been told to pack leave. We've been embarrassed in community meetings, and at some point in tears, because we were alone and not from that area, of course. But we kept on, knowing that don't really need to rush, but as time goes on, and people realize to know the importance of little messages that we've been sending them over the years. And another result, one result is the total banning of dumping of rubbish into the sea, which used to be a very common knowledge, not only on Kia, but throughout Fiji. And it's still happening in most part of Fiji. But today, on Kia Island, I'm so happy to say that people have been aware of this activity, and they have been very careful in keeping their rubbish in their proper places, and instead of throwing them in the ocean like how they used to do before. Another banning was on harvesting of endangered marine species like the hammerhead wrasse, the green turtles, and the Napoleon wrasse. When we came on Kia Island, it's just because the aggressiveness in the commercial fishing on the Kia, people are getting money every day. So these big, most of these endangered species are quite big, and they rake in a lot of money because of their weight. And as for turtles, turtles are easily caught. And you know, Fijians, we do a lot of gatherings and feasting. Somebody's birthday, somebody's wedding, somebody's funeral, or just a family get together. We try to feast, and turtle is always targeted because it is easy to catch than fish. So when we came on Kia Island, this was really going on big time. So slowly over the years, we try to send awareness programs to the people, and we talk about them. As I said before, we, from our scientific perspective, we don't only talk about the ecology of these species, but we also let them talk about the traditional significance of these species. And when we try, once they understand the holistic approach to this, they became to realize that they are supposed to stop harvesting this in the first place. Okay, another one is banning on cutting down of coastal trees along the village foreshore, which they are practicing right now. And it is good to say, I'm glad to say that they are now reversing it into planting more trees. Okay, now improvement on livelihood approaches. We conducted some trainings on finance literacy to assist in proper funding management. Funding management is very poor on Kia. You know, they get money in every blessed day. Lots and lots of money, but we're not able to save those money. So we brought in some experts on finance literacy to come and teach the people. To also help them in opening bank accounts in town. Another one is livening the traditional Sole Solevaki. Sole Solevaki is the communal way of doing things. This is one of Fiji's cultures where we do things together. Like you cannot sit back and watch your neighbor build his house, or watch your neighbor conduct his son's wedding. You have to participate by contributing what little effort that you can do to help him lighten up his burden and carry out, which we call that Solevaki. Another one, establishment of alternative income generating projects such as beekeeping, poultry farming, vegetable farming. We set up 2 village stores in 2 villages, screen printing for the women, and setting up a fuel outlet for the youth. So these are all income generating projects we established. We were lucky to have been assisted with some donations from CFLI Canada. That was in 2017, and most of those alternative livelihoods are still running at present. Taking flight after 5 years of Kia, C3 Fiji has now continued their effort to 12 more communities on mainland Vanuatu. So we've shifted over from Kia to Vanuatu. I'm sitting out in our conference room. We were able to acquire an office, and we've extended our services to 12 communities now. So 15 communities in total. Reef Rangers have grown from one school. The Reef Rangers program in schools have grown from 1 school on Kia Island to 24 more schools on mainland. There is more programs has been extended to other 12 extra communities. More stakeholders have been acquired by C3 over the years, local and regional. Current program, C3 is now involved in the biggest reforestation program ever to be carried out in Wonolevu, targeting 25,000 native trees and 10,000 mangroves from 2021 to May 2023. So that's a little bit about the work we do with C3 Fiji. Okay, my work on C3 Fiji has also pushed me to another level in looking at the plight that most of the young people of Qera Island have been dropping off at school. Most of them are girls. Most of them dropped out, unfortunately dropped off because they got pregnant in schools and were sent back to their homes. Something that other organizations often say, it's a big word, children having children. It's just like the girls are not ready to have children. They become, sometimes become looked at differently or in a negative way in their village. So I happened to have a conversation with some of the girls, and we created a small group called the Oceans of Hope. What is Oceans of Hope? It's a pilot program targeting single mothers, most of whom dropped out from school due to unplanned pregnancies. It was established on 12 May 2020. The issue is most of these young girls were forced to return to their homes and are often faced with these challenges. First challenges the girls face is stigmatization from their relatives, from their peers, from everyone, looking at them carrying children to hospitals, carrying children for children's clinics, or just moving around the island. They are looked at differently in the sense they are still children and they begot children. Another one is a burden. Most of the family members begin to think of them as burdens in the community. With the standard of living that they have, the struggle they have every day to put food on the table, and for their young girls to come back, sent to school to help out in the family, only to come back with children is an extra burden to them. And then they were given less priority. They have no say in the community. They're not allowed to talk during community meetings. And even during their youth groups, they are always on the sideline. So these are some of the facts that I got from them. And I think it is about time that one should stand up to be their voice, to encourage them, to keep them going, and to letting them know that they are human beings and they need to be heard as well. Our vision, empowerment, and capacity building through implementation of shared talents and collaboration for a better life. Our mission, Oceans of Hope, was established to draw out and to enhance hidden talents in single mothers, which can be used to uplift their self-esteem, their standard of living, and to bring about a positive sense of belonging. Oceans of Hope, we work on 6 pillars altogether. First pillar is good governance, where we try to instill a sense of good leadership, accountability, and transparency to the members, which can further be disseminated to others around them. The second one is livelihood and food security. We try to build their capacities in running small entrepreneurs to assist their daily lives through proper literacy training. Third is conservation and climate change, a changing mindset in proper, sustainable implementation of resources in response to meeting the challenges brought about by climate change. We also have a health sector, health pillar. It says a healthy living standard, excuse me, a holistic approach for clean families and healthy people. And the last one is traditional knowledge, salvaging dying traditions and culture as a means of restoring one's identity. So during those pillars, implementation of all these pillars can engage these single mothers into becoming independent and becoming secure and becoming someone to be looked at, someone to be counted on, and someone to be responsible for. Our way forward now, we're working on pillar number, this is our current and way forward. Pillar number 3, we're working on it now, which is conservation, climate change. The members are involved in the establishment of lost native trees on Qera Island through a reforestation program. 1,500 of 30 species of native coastal plants have already been planted in more than 2 hectares of land. Our target was to plant 2,000 trees altogether. And they have also involved in planting, our target to plant 1,000 coconut trees to be replenished after the devastating effect of Cyclone Yasa in 2020. As some of you may have know and understand that 2 cyclones came side by side in the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. That really devastated the island of Qera very badly, demolishing houses, demolishing their crops, and having a very negative effect on the resources as a whole. Our future plans now is seeking donors to assist in the full running of the programs, seeking more stakeholders to enhance moving forward, more exposure and extension of the program. And another future plan we forgot is to have our group registered, as we haven't been registered. I have already talked to the Minister of Women, and they've allowed us to come on to be registered as part, to be part of the government. Thank you, and Vinaka Vakalevu.
Excellent.
Thank you, Maleli. Thank you so much for your very interesting presentation and so much incredible work that you're working on at the moment. I think you touched in your presentation on a really important point where you mentioned that C3 you've been working on not just focusing on the scientific or ecological reasons behind this work, but also the importance of tradition and community, which is so essential to the Pacific way of life. So it's really nice to hear that focus there. It's also really awesome to hear the work that C3 is involved in, to hear that it's been expanding to other communities as well with the project, and also the incredible work that you're doing with Oceans of Hope to empower these young women so that they can, you know, have better, and their children can have better opportunities and well-being. So well done. It really is amazing. If you don't mind, Maleli, we'll get you to stop sharing your slides and we'll open it up to questions for anyone in the meeting at the moment. So if anyone does have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and, you know, speak out loud and we can have a bit of a discussion. You can certainly pop your questions into the chat as well, if you prefer to do it that way.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So I suppose from the Pacific Centre's perspective, and it was a great talk, I could just see lots and lots of student work placement opportunities or student experience opportunities to build on or support or assist some of those initiatives that you've already got in place, and in some respects give a little bit more assistance to it, but at the same time give us, our students back here in Australia, a little bit more of an exposure to the Pacific and some of the opportunities and challenges that come with that. So I suppose I'm just very interested in continuing this conversation with workplace learning type areas that we could find that would be of benefit to both our respective agencies and endeavours. So more a comment, I suppose, than a question.
Thank you very much.
But a great presentation.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, Maleli, so that's Stephen. So he's the director of ACPIR. So Stephen, Maleli has taken on, what did you call them, Maleli? Like internships, didn't you? You've had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Internship program.
Like there were students from, I think you had one from Australia and one from all over the place. So.
Yes. It was a program that we started, we were on Qera Island. They were brought in 2011 to halfway of 2012. It was like they were brought in to help us establish C3 in Fiji. They were using the gap years. Most of them were graduates. And yeah, there were about 26 of them in that lapse of 1.5 years. They help us with establishing C3, the baseline survey that I was talking about, the reef ranges program that I talked about in my presentation. All those were initially planned out with me and them on the island when we started. They came and stayed in for 3 months. They leave, another lot comes in. 3 months, they leave, another lot comes in.
Oh, okay.
So,
Awesome.
so where are they coming from?
Where do they come from? Sorry, Maleli?
Okay, first lot, 2 came from England and 1 from the US. Second lot, 1 from the US, from Australia. Third lot, let me think, 1 German,
Wow.
Italy, Scotland, Georgina from England. I still remember the name. And another lot, 2, Tegan and Nicola from Australia, and Andrew from New York, and Juliana from the US as well.
Wow. Okay.
And who else?
Were they university students or?
They've just graduated from the university,
Oh, okay.
and they call it the gap years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
I mean, what I was thinking about is trying to target students that could come over with a discipline that actually matched a particular challenge or opportunity that you needed. So, for example, if there was an energy or a water or some, we could go looking in our university or our networks for engineering students that would have a skill set that could actually be of direct value to or if you've got a
Planning
or a
water
horticulturalist that might be able to help some of the farmers with some of their agricultural challenges or so forth. So I'm looking at not just experiential base where it's can be a little bit one way, but trying to find relevant skills that actually add to what you're trying to do so that there's a technical benefit to the community as opposed to just an experiential
Really,
base.
really great idea. Great idea.
I think Danny's going to be working on that.
I think it sounds like moving from a gap year space to actually supportive actions where these students can support the community, which I think is what you're trying to say there, Stephen, which would certainly seem beneficial. Maleli, there is a comment in the chat here. So this is from Anali and says, Vinaka, Maleli, does Oceans of Hope does Oceans of Hope receive support from the Fiji Women's Rights Movement or the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat regarding the young women with children?
No, it's just a new group that's newly formed.
Okay.
Starting 2020, and we're still trying to bond the children together, the girls together, to try to make them understand that these can actually help them out. In fact, not all the girls are interested. Some of them are reluctant due to certain things like culture and religions, but we can't force those people. So the others who are interested are now moving together with me in trying to do certain things. And then at some point in time, we believe that all those who are away or who have been reluctant moving will move in. There are the factors that are stopping them, and which we cannot do anything about.
No.
Some are even stopped by their parents themselves.
That's understandable, Maleli. I can imagine there'd be some cultural barriers there that could be preventing some of this, but it seems that you're still progressing forward with it and making those changes where you can.
Thank you.
Important. There's some more thank yous in the chat there. So what a wonderful initiative, Maleli. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much
today. That's from Natasha. Does anybody else have any other questions for Maleli? Yes, we've got one from Brittany.
I'll jump in. Maleli, when you had listed the positive outcomes, you had that there was a fuel outlet for youth. I'm not really sure what that is. Do you mind explaining that a bit?
Okay, for the island people here, the form of transportation is what do you call it? We call it here fiberglass boats. If you know what that is, 23-foot boat with outboard engine. So the engine are fueled by this fuel, and they can only get the fuel from the fuel outlets in Lambasa, which is quite far.
Okay.
So what they do, they went through the Ministry of Commerce and registry. They got registered to own a company first. Once they we have the certificate, then they buy their fuel from town and take it and house it in a small shed in the village. So when the villagers want to go out and fish, they will have to come and buy the fuel so that they can go fishing, or if they want to go from there to town or to other places. So the fuel outlet is like just a small service station kind of thing in a shed. Yes, that's it.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Pinaka Wakalevu.
Pinaka.
Nakvaklevu Maleli. Could
Naka.
I ask a question, please?
Yes, of course.
When you are working for C3 and you're doing all these good things to help communities, how are you ensuring sustainability? Because is there not a danger that you
Yeah.
embed dependency in these communities rather than independence?
Okay. Okay. We also gauge the capabilities of the people in the communities, and we do not really fully giving out like support to them. So because fear of that would happen, Mr. Nan. So we do not like overwhelm them with a lot of, like for each communities, we will probably be putting like 2 alternative livelihoods for this community and 2 for this community, just enough to engage them for some time. And also, as you realize, alternative livelihoods, what they get out of it, I'm talking about the money now, it's not what they get every day. Okay. For example, beekeeping can only be harvested like after every 6 months. So only twice in a year, then you can harvest, then you can get money from the beekeeping. And screen printing, it depends on the market and the availability of the materials as well. We look into all those things before. I mean, those also were part of the training that was conducted by UNDP when they came and conducted the literacy training program. All those were part of it. In the sense, I mean, we were focusing also on thinking on that line as well. They might be becoming too dependent and become lazy. And another thing is to have the sustainability is we conduct our monitoring every now and then. Every now and then, even after we've completed the timeline for our donors. And that is also why we use our local representatives. Each of the programs has different committees to run. We teach them how to run the programs. We keep monitoring them, until we release the programs to them and to see when it's running, whether they can run on their own. But still, when there is a problem, they come back to us to ask for assistance. I hope that answers some.
That's really good. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nan.
Really good to hear. Totoka na Senator.
Okay, Vinaka.
So I was actually just going to say, I remember Maleli told me that some villages that they spent time with and trained, and then some of them didn't follow through and got lazy. So then when they asked for help again, you kind of held back and said, no, we already have spent the time and taught you these things and you didn't follow through. So
yes.
Yeah.
That's what happened to most of the communities that we did a programs in. I think it's like the laxity in being a Fijian. Most of the time, people would like to do like leisure is very much part of living in a community. They think like after doing your work, they just come. The main priority is getting grog or kava, drinking, singing, strumming the guitar, and drinking. That's life. So that's life to them. So that's why it is important for us to do our monitoring and follow up all the time whenever a project is in place. Because what we realize is when we are not there, they suddenly fall back to their own way. So they will need encouragement all the time, I think. Does that answer you, Melanie, my friend?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. So going back to that point of, I guess, balancing what the community wants versus what others might think that they need. Like, how do you go about that? How do you go about understanding how to deliver this program in a way that the community members, you know, are engaged with and that they want to have and whatnot?
You're talking with the alternative livelihoods, Amy?
Pardon me?
You're
Pardon
talking
me?
about you're talking about the alternative livelihoods program, income
Yeah,
generating
yeah.
projects. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First and foremost, we work together before we conduct our literacy training. We talk together with those UNDP people who conduct the training because we don't have the capacity for literacy training. So we seek the assistance of the UNDP. We talked together with them, and they told us, they gave us their planning program, the outline. In the outline, it says exactly what we have been talking about, that we cannot intrude their mindset in telling them what to do or what to want. It has to come from them. It has to come from them. And there are some questions and tests to see if the programs that they choose are going to be successful or not. You know, like a logical, holistic outlook on everything surrounding that small intended plan that they want to put up as a project. What, okay, like challenges, solutions, what can affect it, those kind of things. So we give them what to do. They discuss. The literacy training program is conducted in 1 whole week. So they were given time to go back, the representatives who came for the training, to back to their very respective villages and talk with the elders. So it goes through a long process into deciding on what project they want. You know, it was funny. At one point, we discouraged them from running shops. We said, no, we Fijians are not good in running shops because it will always be a lot of credit. There is a culture of kere asking for us. Like people from the side come and ask for sugar, for onion, for salt, you'll have to give it because that's your culture. Those are the kind of things that affect things like the shops. So that's what we encourage them not to do. But one community said, no, give us a try, let us try. So it was like actually what they wanted, even though we think that they won't be able to run the shop. So there are cases that we need to be aware of, that we'll just have to go through what they want.
Yeah, fair. Thank Vinaka.
Vinaka Wakalevu.
Okay, well, we've had some pretty interesting questions, Manali, and you've done a really great job at responding to everyone after talking so long with your presentation. So thank you. And Vinaka, does anyone have any final questions that they'd like to ask Manali before we finish up the session today?
I think he's just dropped out. I think.
Oh, maybe he has.
Maybe his internet disappeared.
Yeah, he was having trouble connecting with his internet before we started. All right, well, on that note, maybe we might finish up the session for everyone, and I will touch base with Manali and thank him again. But thank you everybody else for connecting with us. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Pacific seminar series.
Thanks, Maleli. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Vinaka.
Thank you. That was great.